It took 5 long weeks, but we're finally getting a best of 5, right? Oh, God.
Into the pit! Into the pit! Everyone get in here!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to The Pit, the final preview before we head into finals weekend to see who is going to first stand over in Korea. Only 4 teams remain. All 4 of them are from the North. All the South, every single team from the South was eliminated this past weekend, with Team Liquid being the only one to drop a single game. If you want some overreactions to that series, well, that's exactly what you can get over here. I'll be doing a weekly series called Overreactions, where we can get all of our negativity out of the way early on in the week, and then we can just focus purely on the games as they come and just, have a good time with it, right? No, we got some other negative things to talk about. I want to address a point that was noted on Hotline League, which is that there's a lot of negativity in the league space now. Part of that being due to the Hex Tech chest removal that's in the game, which, yes, is causing a lot of animosity from the general league player base as a whole, so people are already increased angry. Part of that being due to format woes, which I'm going to save conversations around like the general LTA format and everything else there for next week, because I got some gripes on what we're going to be looking forward to in Split 2. But part of that also is winter depression. I mean, look outside. Yes, those of us here in the Northeast are definitely going to be in a chipper mood when it's like 0 degrees and possibly snowing. Like, come on. I know LA folks won't understand this point, but seasonal depression is a very real thing here in the Northeast and the East in general, where the majority of your player base is at. So a lot of us are going through this time of the year where by the end of February, like, you've gone through all the holidays, you're just wanting spring to get here, and remnants of winter are still here. Like, it is the perfect concoction of negativity hitting the league space all at once. So while, yes, I agree, we're missing some positivity in the space, at the same time, you can't just let some of these problems not go called out. Like, you have to say something at some point, because otherwise things don't get changed. Take the Hex Tech chest situation, for example. If I have a problem with the LTA, one of the things that you would want to do is raise a lot of concern and awareness for it, because just letting it go, I mean, like, oh, try and find the positivity in it. While I understand that point of view from Kangas, who is on broadcast and paid by Riot and can't disparage the product, from Cubby and Travis, it's like, okay, I think we can dip a little bit more into the criticism here. You have to constantly push for change and be overbearing to the point where people feel like they have to. Or you got to force their hand by living the life of change that you would want to be elsewhere. So no, I'm not going to mince some words, especially when we're talking about viewership, which I'm worried about for this next weekend. And I kind of got into a Papa Smithy a little bit on Twitter, where he said that you could take the combined number for the LTA cross-conference play and just compare that straight up to old LCS numbers. That's lying. That's not a true comparison. If you're using those LTA cross-conference numbers by like putting that out to brands saying, hey, these are the numbers that we're going to get for people, and you're attracting sponsors that way, are you telling them that the majority of that speak Portuguese? That if it's an English product, that they're going to be of no use to you whatsoever? Are you saying those things in your meetings? Are you disclosing that like you should as an honest partner? Or are you just using those to sell partnerships? I mean, look, you do you at the end of the day. I ain't running your business. I'm just saying viewership has not been great, and I can't imagine it's going to get better this weekend. Brazilian fans have already started petitions to try and boycott. We're not sure how many people are going to show up in the arena this weekend, but regardless, the matchups themselves should be entertaining. Really quickly, though, if you want to come to New York City and watch the LTA finals with us, we are actually going to be at Playwright. I previously put out in a graphic that it's going to be at Legends NYC. It is not. I talked to the organizer that works at both Legends and also knows the bar at Playwright. We are going to Playwright instead. There's a conflict due to some scheduling issues. They will be able to accommodate us perfectly fine, but I just wanted to make sure that it was very clearly stated that we were going to be at Playwright NYC. It's a block away from where this was originally scheduled to be at, in New York City, watching finals this weekend. If you want to come watch with all of us all together, it should be a fun time. It should be a blast. Come on out and enjoy everything. It's free entirely. I'll have the link to the Eventbrite with all the details down below so you can save it for yourself. But just show up, buy some food, buy some drinks, support the venue itself, and just come and have a good time. We are giving away a Dignitas chair. Dignitas is sponsoring this entire thing. The first 25 people will actually get shirts as well. But all you got to do is show up, you'll get a ticket, and you can win yourself a Dignitas chair when it is all said and done. Massive thank you to them for partnering with us and helping support the local scene here in New York City. The last around the league thing that I do want to mention is that Disguised actually tweeted out. I know, team that's not even here this weekend. We're somehow working them into the narrative. They tweet out that they're going to Korea right now to boot camp, which historically in North America, boot camps over in Korea have been seen as a good thing. It's like, hey, they're going over to practice to try and refine their skills and become a better player so that when they come back to North America, they'll be more competitive with the teams above them. Now, do I think that's going to make a massive difference for Disguised? Not necessarily, even if it's a good idea to go over to Korea, especially whenever all the top teams in the world are going to be there, including whoever wins the LTA, as they're playing first stand in Korea. But the big thing I just want to know for people is, like, you need to put out way more content than you have been. All the teams went over to Korea in the off season, like this past year, in like December before Christmas. And you know how much content came out of that? Really not much. Like one show match organized by FearX, and a few videos from like Cloud9 and like one vlog like 3 months later from 100 Thieves. If you guys are going to be going over there, you better be making content out of that, because people want to see your journey. People want to see everything leading up to it. They just don't want to see you go off the grid and go dark for 2 months or a month until we see you next. Like the whole point of this offseason, like the whole streaming scrims argument and like everything that's going on right now, is that we don't see enough of these players in a way that like is entertaining for fans. So you should be putting out daily YouTube videos, and not just at the time that's for Korean audiences, for Americans, for European. Like I hate to combine Europeans, but that's a lot of our viewership now as well, and I'm kind of like understanding and just giving up on that front. But you got to do something. Like nobody's gonna sit here and like willingly track your OPGG unless they're a super fan, which I'm gonna do for 100 Thieves players. But like beyond that, nobody's gonna give a shit. And if you come back and then you finish like 7th, 8th, or even like 6th, and then you get relegated, like what was that trip for? What did you gain out of it? Nothing. So I better see people from Disguised like take a note from Disguised themselves book, vlog. Put out videos that each and every day, or at least like during that stretch, can be out on YouTube. Have an editor try and take care of things for you. Like work with somebody that does content in the space. Put out short form stuff. You gotta do more than just go over and play solo queue 24/7. You have to understand that you are a personality in the space trying to grow the scene. And unfortunately, that will come on the shoulders of being more than just a good player, but more importantly, an entertainer. Blippo knows that. Whether you like him or not, he does. Everybody else should be taking note. Now, let's get into it. We have 2 best of 3 series left this weekend, and then 1 best of 5 on Sunday for the final. 3 sets of games. Should be entertaining, should be fun, and these are the matchups that honestly I think most of us have been waiting to see for a while. Starting off with 100 Thieves versus Flyquest. Look, there is no denying that Flyquest are the favorites in this particular matchup. There are going to be people like myself and like Paul who believe that 100 Thieves can upset Flyquest, that Quid and River are the hot hand right now, and even if Sniper does lose to Blippo in lane, he'll be able to do enough to win the game. Same thing for the bot lane, FBI and Ayla stepping up massively, being arguably a top 2 bot lane in this league right now, next to Busio and Masu. But can they overcome the hurdle? Because 100 Thieves has only ever taken a single game off of this iteration of Flyquest, and that was during a best of 3 in summer last year. To be able to overcome this hurdle, even though I would say Flyquest is not playing in the same form that they were in at the end of last year, you're still going to need to be firing on all cylinders. Is Quid and River in their peak form enough to overcome what is a very stable quad and arguably the best jungler in the entire West and Inspired? Maybe. I think most analysts are probably going to predict Flyquest, but my heart lies with 100 Thieves. That should be no surprise to anybody. And I'll be curious to see in those comments how you all are feeling as well, whether you're still sold on Flyquest like being the top, or whether your faith is starting to crack a little bit, and whether you can see a world where 100 Thieves is able to do this. The other matchup, Team Liquid versus Cloud9, is going to be interesting. Again, we have not seen either of these 2 semifinals like match up due to the way that the early parts of Split 1 worked out, at least on the domestic side. So we've never seen TL versus C9. A C9 who is clearly really good at the early game right now, and a TL who has looked, if we're being honest, kind of shaky. Core JJ and Yawn are not as dominant as they once were, even if I would say Yawn is like absolutely probably the best ADC in the league right now. Speaks for himself. Like we all know the highs can be like decently high, but the lows can be really, really freaking low, including a loss to, well, the only loss to a Southern team this past weekend. Impact is impact. When going against Santos, he's always been able to handle the younger opponents that he's kind of gone against. But I'll be honest with you, I'm favoring Cloud9, as I think most people are in this situation. Last week did a lot to kind of dissuade trust in Team Liquid. Some people are still out on APA. Some people still blame Team more than anybody else on that team. But regardless, something's not fully working right with TL. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that Spawn is coaching remote now. And while they brought in Swiffer to try and help out, I think it made a massive difference. Like, not having those coaching videos with Spawn on site, like, just it definitely, it feels like it's making a pretty big impact here, if I'm being honest. Probably the biggest change, despite the roster not really going one way or the other this offseason. One thing that you could always say about TL towards last year was, like, they'd have these shaky moments in best of threes, but then they'd always kind of like bounce back a little bit stronger. And I can't say other than against the South, who, again, weaker than everybody else, I'm not sold that this team has the same resiliency that they once had. But for C9, this is also going to be the first test that they've had since Flyquest. Like, sure, they were able to beat Flyquest once. Same argument for 100 Thieves, but I think you still do got to favor TL at least a little bit. And I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of talking out my ass there to try and make a case for TL. I think this is going to be pretty convincingly C9. I think 2-0. We can have the conversation later about whether still has his job or not after split one in the case that he does underperform. But in general, Team Liquid needs to step up massively, and somebody needs to try and help out Yawn, because he cannot solo carry this team over the finish line. So my final predictions for this weekend are going to be 100 Thieves 2-1 over Flyquest and C9 2-0 over TL, leading to a best of 5 fearless finals, of which I'm going to take 100 Thieves over C9. Yes, I'm biased, I know, but I'll leave you with Paul's rant from the Crossover podcast, because I believe that it honestly kind of encapsulates everything that I would want to believe, at least from a narrative point of view, if you're going to have 100 Thieves winning this all. So thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to drop a subscribe and a like down below. Turn on that bell for notifications. And Paul, hit him with the hopium.
100 Thieves should have crushed TL that first series, right? Like, it should have been a 2-0 stomp, but Quid threw. Quid's their best player. I don't think he throws often. I think Quid and River are on fire. I think Flyquest is still really good. I think Inspired and Quad are very good. I think that 100 Thieves bot lane right now is playing way above what people thought they would be, and people had them rated really low. I have been all summer saying I think standing up for FBI, and you can say that's true, because I've been saying that all summer. I think, or not summer, my bad, winter, that FBI is good, and I think FBI is really good. And I know people are going to go, how can you say 2-0? It's because I think 100 Thieves actually doesn't throw this time. I think they surprise people. And I know people think it's crazy. I know they're going to say that's a wild take. But at some point, a young team has to step up and rise above, you know, into the stratosphere. And 100 Thieves isn't entirely young in age, but they are like this young idea of a team, and they've been slowly punching, slowly fighting their way to the top. And I think this is one of those where you look back and go, oh, that's like one of those turning points, you know? Like, they actually punch their way into... I know I'm glazing them so hard, and you're so confused why I'm glazing them.
Fucking thing on Twitter immediately after this is done.
I know.
Because I cannot believe every word that's coming out of your mouth. And I was already...
I know.
Like, cautiously optimistic, but you have just set my confidence to the freaking stratosphere.
I know. And I know people think this is stupid, but, like, legitimately, I do think there's a world where 100 Thieves, like, punches their way through into that, like, next team up kind of thing. And it's always nuts. It's nuts to talk about a team punching their way into the next team up until they do it. You're a crazy man until they do it. That's how it is for everybody.